Oh, things just happen on the floor of the House that you gotta see. And this one is it, because Louie Gohmert's the man. Hang in there, folks. I'll be right back and we'll see what happened. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I was just going through some videos and I came across this one that happened today. You gotta see this one, okay? Now I can't play the whole thing, copyright issues and stuff, but I'm gonna play a little bit of it, but I want to set up what I'm gonna play here because Louie Gohmert stood up on the floor and he has a resolution that he wants to put in. Now, resolutions aren't laws, but they do govern some things, and this would be something that the House would have to implement if it went through. Now, of course, the likelihood of this going through is like zero, because the House Democrats aren't going to vote for this one. But you gotta hear what Louie did. This guy, oh, he is a brave warrior. He really is, because they're not going to like this, and you're going to hear weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth from the Democrats over this. Okay? So he says, he just gets up there so meek and mild and everything, and he talks about, Nancy Pelosi brought to the House floor for a vote this H.R. 7573, and with the purpose of eliminating 4 specific statues or busts from the United States Capitol, along with all others that include individuals who, quote, served as an officer or voluntarily with the Confederate States of America or of the military forces or government of a state while that state was in rebellion against the United States. And that's the quote there, yet failed to address the most ever-present historical stigma in the United States Capitol. That is the source that so fervently supported, condoned, and fought for slavery was left untouched, without whom the evil of slavery could never have continued as it did, to such extreme that it is necessary to address here in order for the U.S. House of Representatives to avoid degradation of historical fact and blatant hypocrisy for generations to come. And then he starts out and he lists the Democrat Party platforms that are anti-black and, pro-slavery. He goes on and talks about all of them. He talks about them supporting the fugitive slave law of 1850, where people were fined $1,000, which in today's terms would be $28,000. And if they did not arrest an alleged runaway slave. The 14th Amendment, remember, it passed, but it had 0 Democrat support. He just goes through all of this. I was laughing the whole time because I couldn't believe he was going to just put the truth out there. Now, the Democrats are going to take this lightly because they don't want their history being put down in front of the American people. Of course, very few people sit and watch, the proceedings and stuff, but I hope this one gets airplay. Please, please share it. I'm going to give you a link to the video and this document. So anyway, if you go down here, I'm going to start right here because he just lists everything the Democrat Party has done over the years to be very anti-black. And so anyway, listen to this. This is kind of his conclusion.
And whereas the 1924 Democratic National Convention convened in New York City at Madison Square Garden, the convention commonly was known as the Klan Bake due to the overwhelming influence of the Ku Klux Klan in the Democratic Party. And whereas in 1964, the Democratic Party led a 75 calendar day filibuster against the 1964 Civil Rights Act, whereas leading the Democrats in their opposition to civil rights for African Americans was a member of the Democratic Party, Senator Robert Byrd from West Virginia, who was a known recruiter for the Ku Klux Klan. Whereas Democrats enacted and enforced Jim Crow laws and civil codes that forced segregation, restricted freedoms of black Americans in the United States. Whereas on June 18, 2020, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ordered the removal from the Capitol portraits of 4 previous speakers of the House who served in the Confederacy, saying that these portraits, quote, set back our nation's work to confront and combat bigotry, unquote. The men depicted in the portraits were Democrat Robert M.T. Hunter, Democrat Howell Cobb, Democrat James L. Orr, and Democrat Charles F. Crisp. Resolved that the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall remove any item that names, symbolizes, or mentions any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy from any area within the House wing of the Capitol or any House office building, and shall donate such item or symbol to the Library of Congress. And 2, that any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy shall either change its name or be barred from participation in the House of Representatives. With that, I would yield back.
Oh my gosh, I sat here and I'm going, you go, Louie! Wow! So essentially, if you look at this, what he's saying, the resolved part is what he says that resolution should be for. Okay, Nan, if you're going to be taking out a few statues, then let's just face the problem head on. Because the real problem is we've got a bunch of people, we have an entire party that has been pretending right now that they have been for the black community all along, when in reality, they've been trying to keep the blacks down for the entire history of the party. And he goes through, he gives the actual events and he gives specifics on it. So he has the evidence, he lays it all down. And then he says, so Nancy, if you're gonna remove those, then you better be removing anything that mentions any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy. Because you know what? The Republican Party didn't. And so, that's just funny. That's what he said. And he's not leaving it at that. Then he goes on with number 2, that any political organization or party that has ever held a public position that supported slavery or the Confederacy shall either change its name or be barred from participation in the House of Representatives. Ba-boom! Oh, man. So, Democrats, what are you going to do? There's the information. He's got all of the different pages. He's got 2 pages, 2.5 pages of the reasons why. And I'll tell you, this one right here is a real problem for him, because Hillary said this guy was her mentor. And we have pictures of him with, Joe Biden and everybody else. And all of them, he didn't die all that long ago. And when he did, all the Democrats were saying such nice things about him. And we knew he was a recruiter for the KKK. And I'm surprised Louie didn't go a little bit further. But yeah, he was like a high up in the KKK. So Senator Byrd is a sticking point. These people that say that the party switched, you're going to have to deal with Senator Byrd, because he was a member of the KKK, and we know that. So how are you going to say the Democrat Party never supported slavery or racism against the blacks when you've got him in your party? And not only in your party, but somebody that has been considered a mentor and was highly esteemed by your party. And this was recent. I mean, really. So I just think this was brilliant. This was so good. So no, I'm sorry. The parties did not switch. Everyone knows that. But the Democrats want to try to keep saying that because, if you repeat a lie often enough, people start to believe it. And that's what's going on. I had one on Twitter the other day that said that. And it's like, are you crazy? Really? When did that happen? No, it didn't. I gave him this PragerU video, and I'll put that down in the description too, so you can see that one if you want to. And it was very clear. It was a black lady saying it, and she went through and she said, no, the parties didn't switch. And she laid it out very clearly. But the person, well, if you're just going to give some stupid Prager University video, they're not a reliable resource. It's like, yeah, right. They're not reliable. from that point on, if somebody's going to give me that kind of guff, I just usually mute them and go on, mute the conversation, because it'll entice me to go back into it, and I just don't have the time and energy to do that. But anyway, I needed to share this with you. I also am going to include a link down below, and I don't have that video queued right now, but I'll have a link down below to a Tom Fitton Judicial Watch video that talks about the same thing I had in my diversity training video, and it's happening also in the Department of Defense, and they've got the documentation to prove it. So I wanted to share that with you. I think all of this needs to come out. Man, share, share, share. This is what we need to be doing. You know, a lot of people say that the Q movement is where we sit back and do nothing. It's not that. It's where we get the information out there. This information needs to go out. People need to read these things and find out exactly what the Democrat Party has done over the years and why they are definitely not a party that any black person should ever want to support. So, I don't know, obviously Louie's resolution's not going to go anywhere, but it's out there and it's in the congressional record now, and I think that's brilliant. A brilliant move, Louie Gohmert. Yay. If he's your congressman, give him a shout out. You can go to his webpage and then go to contact and you can email him. You won't be able to do that unless you're one of his constituents and your address is in his constituency. But I really want you to do that. There's probably a phone number you could call, and I think anybody could probably call that. But you need to let this guy know he is a very great warrior for the United States, and we need him to keep at it because he's trying his best to get the truth out there. And that was a brilliant move of his to do this. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.